Everybody, my name is Ted Forbes and welcome back to another episode of The Art of Photography. And today is the last episode of the year. And it has been a wild year. And I wanted to stop for a minute and just say thanks to you guys for watching and supporting the show. It means a lot. And considering a little more than a year ago, it was last fall, so fall of 2012, we almost had to stop doing the show. And the main reason is because when you do a video podcast like this, the iTunes end of it I have to self-host and it can be very expensive. And I was a little worried about how we were going to work that out. But here we are. A year and 3 months later, and it's all kind of worked out. And I wanted to thank you guys for doing that, because it wouldn't be possible without you guys as an audience, and I really appreciate it. We've done 50 episodes this year. I've got some notes because I've got some things I want to mention. We've done 50 episodes this year, and average of 20 minutes or so per episode. My calculations bring that to about almost 17 hours of video about photography, which is amazing and tiring all at the same time. And that doesn't include things like the vlog episodes and some of the extra videos we've done. So it's been pretty big. As far as the website goes, we've had huge growth this year, which is cool. 225,000 people, give or take, have visited the website, a total of 373,000 times. That's January 1st to today. And it's amazing. And so I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart, because it means a lot just to be able to keep this show running and have people who are interested in watching it. So all you guys who have retweeted, tweeted, blogged about the show, or put links to the website, all the videos that have been shared, I want to say thanks, because that's really helped make this happen, and it's helped us get to where we are now. And I'm looking for a really successful year next year, and doing even better, and being able to do more things. And I think that's pretty exciting. So I want to thank you guys. And then also, finally, I think this is really important to point out, is, you know, I have a day job. I do this for fun. I do this just because I love photography. I love talking about photography, and I love teaching. And it's, like I said, it's expensive. It's hard to do sometimes financially and time-wise. And some of you guys have even donated financially via PayPal through the website. And I want to say thank you. That has been a huge help. And it's pretty much, you know, been able to make this gift of a show to everybody else. And I couldn't have done it without you guys. And I just wanted to say thanks. I know this is a little bit impersonal because I'm not, you know, going down name by name, but some people donated as little as $5, and some people, you know, donated much larger amounts. And I really appreciate it. Like I said, it's made it possible for me to be here talking to you today. And so thank you very much. The year has been pretty good. It's been a lot of fun to produce the show. I've met a lot of people. We've done meetups in both New York and Montreal. And it's been an amazing year. There's been some sadness this year too. One of our big fans of the show, my friend Dan Hansen, who lived in the Netherlands. If you guys have not seen the episode we did as a memorial to Dan, he passed away last summer, and I did an episode on him and showed a lot of his images, a couple weeks ago. So if you haven't seen that, do yourself a favor and check out Dan's work. Extremely sad that he's passed, but he left, I think, a pretty firm legacy as a photographer. And he's one of those people that I'm really flattered to watch the show, because he's clearly a very, very capable photographer. And why would he need to watch this? I don't know. But anyway, he meant a lot to me, and a lot of the, you know, comments that you guys made, you know, giving sympathy to that, I really appreciate. And so that was kind of the downer this year, but we lost a good one. Dan was amazing. Like I said, this is the last show of the year, and next week I'm not sure whether we're going to do an episode or not. I'm going to be in Las Vegas at New Media Expo, and the reason I'm there is because I'm going to attend the 9th Annual Podcast Awards, and I was nominated, the show is nominated, because some of you guys cared enough about the show to see that happen. And I want to say thank you to all the folks that not only nominated, but the folks who tirelessly voted and kept us in the running. And we are a finalist in the show, so I will keep you guys posted on what happens with that. There is some tough competition in the Best Video Podcast category. We're the only photography podcast. But there's some Aaliyah Laporte shows that are in there, and there's some big hitters. And so I don't know what the chances are to actually winning the category. But as far as I'm concerned, just to be nominated and to know that I have an audience that cares that much about this show and is willing to go that extra mile to see it be successful, that's enough for me. And I'm already very proud of that, and I'm proud of the people who watch this show, and I'm proud of the community that we have started around this. So anyway, some interesting things coming up next year. That is next week. I'll be in Vegas. And by the way, if you're in Vegas, I don't know if I'll have time for a meetup. I've decided to go to the conference because as a podcaster and as somebody who's making videos and making shows, there was enough on the schedule of the conference part of it to where I'm going to go learn. And I want to figure out how I can make this show better and do more with it. And so that's what I'm interested in. But if I might have some time, and I've talked to a couple of you, but if you're in Vegas and you want to do a meetup, please send me an email and let me know, because it would be fun to do something. Next year, we're going to do some new things. And if you guys have ideas or suggestions of stuff you're not seeing on the show that you would like to see, or stuff you'd like to see more of, or stuff you'd like to see less of even, feel free to tweet, Facebook, even send me an email. And I would like to know. We're going to redesign the website, which I haven't gotten my head around entirely yet, because I needed to do something. This show started just as a video series, and now that we have a web component to that, rather than just putting up the videos, I think I want to take it further and do something more with it. I'm not sure what that is yet. So anyway, some cool things to look out for in 2014. And plus, I think just more shows and more cool photography stuff, and you know, all that good stuff. So anyway, today we are going to talk about a piece of software called Intensity Pro, and it's from a company called MacPhun. And I got an email from somebody at MacPhun a couple weeks ago, and they said, hey, we've got this piece of software that we've written we'd like to get the word out on. We want to know what you think of it. Give us some feedback. And anyway, so I checked it out. It is absolutely amazing, and I thought I need to share this with the people who watch the show. Basically, MacPhun, it's Mac only, unfortunately, for all you PC users out there. But it's a company that is basically a bunch of ex-game designers that decided they wanted to make something for digital imaging and had a pretty good idea. I'm pretty blown away by Intensity Pro. Basically, it's kind of post-production software, but it's on the very end of it. So it will run as a standalone application, as I'll show you in a minute. It will also run as a plugin for Lightroom and Photoshop. And I think its strongest point is the way it handles contrast and sharpness. And so it's a really nice way of, when you're editing your images and you're doing your post-production, of finally taking that last step and getting it really tuned up for either doing a print of, or whether you're going to distribute on the internet, or whatever you're going to do with your photos. So I want to share with you MacPhun's Intensity Pro. So come on over and let's take a look. Okay, so we're going to have a look at Intensify Pro from MacPhun here. And this, when you buy the application, it runs a couple different ways. You can run it as a standalone app, which is how we're going to look at it today. So it's just running by itself. So if you don't have something like Lightroom or Photoshop, or some imaging software like that, it will run as a standalone, which is pretty nice. It also will run, if you choose, as a plugin for pretty much any major photo editing software. So things like Photoshop, Aperture, Lightroom. And if you're using it in conjunction with Lightroom, you can use some of the nice features of Intensify here, as well as what comes standard on Lightroom or Photoshop, whatever you're using, Aperture. But anyway, we're running as a standalone for today, so I can show you. And this is an image that we're going to use for demo purposes here. This was an image that was taken in the snow a couple years ago in northern Indiana, early in the morning, and just kind of a goofy Americana kind of image here. But I do have snow with this kind of contrast of the sun coming up. Now, this isn't very vivid as shot, and so we can use Intensify Pro to bring out some of that stuff. Now, a couple of things that Intensify Pro does really well. We're using the standalone, so if you need to adjust color temperature and things, those are things you find in Photoshop and Lightroom, not a big deal. But what it does the best is, in addition to those, is it has a way of dealing with things like structure, localized contrast, global contrast, being able to really pull out shadows, being able to kind of do some tonal mapping and balance the image out a little bit. And it does these very, very well, and I'm very impressed by it. So if we're looking at the interface on the right-hand side, when you first open it, you're going to see a series of presets here. And, obviously based, and I said that it does contrast and detail so well. The first thing you see is architectural presets. And of course, I can apply them to anything, but they're basically optimized for that. There's black and white presets. So if I want to make this a dramatic black and white, I just simply click on that and voila. And so these are kind of some looks that you can get. Some people like to do these as kind of starting points to, go in and refine a little bit. I've never been a big fan of just hit a button, get a look, and go. I tend to be more anal retentive than that, and I tend to go in and smooth it out. But you can see, though, that just clicking through these presets, you get a feel for what this is going to do. And I don't know if you can pick this up from the video or not, but between smooth and portrait here, there's a huge difference between like on smooth, you have a very soft focus look, and if I go to strong details, you're going to see a very sharp image with, you know, a very high contrast. In fact, maybe probably too much for this image, but you can do some interesting things with it. There's creative presets, so if you want to kind of do some stuff with color optimization and different looks like this. And again, I think the thing that it does the best here is you're looking at a lot of the way it deals with details and sharpness, which is very cool. Where if I click on a preset like Dreamy, it's going to be a very soft focus. So it's really cool at that, and it's a really nice way to really, you know, put some polish on your images and do post-production. If you want to save any of these presets, there's a little star over on the right-hand side, and if I click that, then it'll show up in the favorites menu. And so that's a really cool way to work. For myself, I tend to work, I like to get under the hood. So we're going to do that. If you need to reset, we're on a preset right now. If you need to reset this back to the original image at any time, there's a reset button down at the bottom right-hand side of the screen. So we're going to hit that, go back to the original image. And I'm going to click on the adjust panel over here, and we'll kind of walk through and see what these do. Now you can see that right off the bat, you've got things that you're going to see in Lightroom. So if you're using this as a standalone, you're not missing them, which is kind of nice. So you have color temperature right here. So one of the cool things you can do with sunrises and sunsets is we can actually change the color temperature around and get a more dramatic effect. You can get kind of some nice faded color effects in here. So if you're into 35mm looks like Sol Leader and stuff like that, you can start to manipulate those really well through here. One thing that's missing that I wish they had included, and maybe it'll come out in a future version of this, but if you are using it as a standalone and you're doing really accurate color correction, it would be nice to have the eyedropper here so I could go over and click on some white or at least an 18% gray in the image and try to balance the image that way. Not a deal breaker. You just have to do it manually for now, and I'm hoping, you know, maybe in a future version they'll add an eyedropper in, because we're not always going for looks. Sometimes we're actually going for accuracy, so that's one thing that you might bear in mind for something like that. Again, not a deal breaker, but you know, would be nice to have. You also have basic tuning adjustments, so exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows. So if I need to make it a darker exposure, if I need to bring my highlights out some more or suppress them, you can do that from here. This is pretty standard controls you have in something like Lightroom, especially if you need to bring out your shadows a little bit, like you want more detail in those trees, you can do it here. But what's cool about this, I'm going to reset that back in the middle. We can bring out that shadow detail in a number of other ways. I'm going to try and make that sunrise a little more vibrant. There we go. Make it more orange. Kind of made my whole image red, but we'll mess with that a little bit. So if you come down and you look in this section for Pro Contrast, you can simply start kind of playing with these sliders, and you can see that this is really bringing out a lot of shadow detail because I'm decreasing contrast in my shadows. And it's also got an offset toggle here as well. So if I need to bring that back down and define my mid or black point or whatever it is you're working with, you can certainly do that. And so it allows you already to have tremendous amount of control over what you're doing in the image. I think that's probably a little too much detail in those darker areas. We'll pull that back a little bit. And the next section is structure, and this is another one that I think is really cool because this is where you're going to start to bring out some details. You can abuse this very easily, but let me show you what it does. With great power comes great responsibility. Again, with the shadows, I'm going to bring that up, and you're going to see, especially in this tree trunk here and in these leaves and stuff, you really start to see a lot of detail and a lot of definition. I can play with the softness on that, and I can make it sharper or softer depending on what it is I want to try and do, and it really allows you to dial in exactly the amount of sharpness or the look that you're going for here. And it's really pretty nice. And I think this is one of, like I said, one of the more impressive things about this application is, especially if you are really wanting really sharp images and you want to print from them, this is a way of bringing that out. I think it's a little more powerful than, you know, some of the messing around in Photoshop that you're going to have to deal with, or Lightroom is a little limited to in that area. Details, I can go for global. I can just adjust the shadow detail. And again, this is going to be more contrast. You can see that I really made that sharp. It's almost a little too sharp at this point. You can also adjust the masking on that. Again, you have a lot of control. I'm getting a really sharp image here. Micro sharpness is exactly what it sounds like. This works a lot like the unsharp mask filter does in Photoshop. And so it allows you to dial in the amount. It also helps to zoom in a full 100% if you're going to kind of play around with this. It allows you to dial in exactly the amount. And depending on how fast your computer is, it sometimes takes a minute for that preview to render. If you're having halo issues or radius issues, you can kind of dial that in as well. Bring the masking downer up, and you can really get this optimized for printing, and that's a really big deal. I'm going to go back and fit to screen here so we can see the whole image. And then also, like you have in Lightroom, or you have to make manually in Photoshop, you can deal with vignetting. And so I can make the amount if you want to make it a white vignette, so kind of an older historical look, especially if you're black and white or duotone or something like that. Or I'm going to bring it in like this. Now, vignetting is something that occurs naturally. It's a lens distortion, and it does kind of bring your eye into the center of the image a little bit. Let's go ahead and do some extreme vignetting so you can see what the controls do. I'm going to bring the size down, and I'm going to bring the feather all the way down. So what we're going to see is basically the mask of dark to light that you're going to deal with vignetting. When I bring the roundness slider around, you can see that I can make this more square if I want, or I can adjust the circular or make it more of an ovular shape. And then you can also play with the feather a little bit here too, which is the blurred edges of it. Now I have this cranked up really high here. Luminosity will add a little light to the center. That sometimes helps a little bit. Now let's bring the amount way back now and try and make it a little more natural. And so I can bring some vignetting in. Now, I don't really want the center of attention to be right in the middle of this image, so let's replace the center. You click on Place Center and then select the part in the image, like that sunrise where you want it to center, and you're going to see that it starts to do kind of a nice job at that. There we go. I'm going to bring the amount back too because that's really too much. And speaking of too much, this brings me to the last option in here. There is an opacity slider, which is really cool. And I think this is one of the nicest little, accoutrements that comes in this piece of software. A lot of times I've found that when I'm doing post-production, and I've seen this with other people too, is it's really easy to get carried away with something you're going for and you're trying to make it look really intense. And in the end, it's the right direction, but sometimes it's too much. And so what the opacity slider allows you to do is it allows you to take all of your adjustments here and increase or decrease the opacity just like you would a layer in Photoshop. So if I turn this down to 0, we're seeing the original image. And then I can just kind of blend this to the point where I want it to, which starts looking good, sometimes in the middle. That way it's not just too intense of an image, but it allows you to bring that back. Another cool thing that this Intensify allows you to do with some of your opacity options is over on the top, see where it says layers up here? It allows you to create layers of adjustments. So I can do another adjustment layer up here, and I can go through and I can deal with the temperature and the tint and exposure and all that stuff, and it allows me to start mixing my layers a little bit. And so again, the opacity can allow me to do that. So if I want it just to be a little bit darker, and already I'm kind of getting some interesting effects with this image here. And I'm allowed to blend them by using these opacity sliders quite a bit. And I really, really like that. It's kind of a cool way to control the effects that you're doing on the image. And at any time you want to save what you've done as a preset, it's really easy too. You go down here and you select Create Preset, and it will put it in the User Presets section here. So that is an overview and a look at Intensify Pro from MacPhun. And like I said, this is available in a standalone edition if you want it that way, or you can run it as a plugin in Lightroom or Photoshop. Costs about 60 bucks. I think it's very well worth it, and I think the people at MacPhun have done a wonderful job at putting this together. And I thank them for allowing me to share this with you guys. Okay, so that is Intensity Pro from MacPhun. There's two versions of the software. There's a light version and then there's the Pro version, which is what I was looking at. I haven't reviewed the light version. It's reduced feature set, obviously. I would go ahead and go for the Pro version if you're interested in this. It's about 60 bucks, which is not outrageous. And check it out. I'm going to put a link in the show notes, but you can also go to theartofphotography.tv/intensity. theartofphotography.tv/intensity, and that will redirect you over to MacPhun's website, and you can check out the software for yourself. Anyway, guys, this has been a wonderful year. I know it's been a lot of thank yous and stuff today, and bear with me on that because I really am appreciative, and I'm trying to express that to you guys for watching. And that's really hard to do to a mass group who's just checking you out, online or whatever. But I really mean it, and this has been amazing. And considering I almost had to stop doing this a year or so ago, I'm glad to still be sitting here, and I'm glad to be talking to you. And we're going to do a lot more cool stuff coming up. We've got more photographers to talk about. The photo lit episodes seem to be really popular. We've also got stuff like I want to cover more darkroom stuff, more post-production, more general photography things. There's a whole lot. The composition series was very successful when we did that, so I'd like to dig back into that a little bit. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever it is you celebrate, and to everyone, a very Happy New Year. Once again, guys, this has been The Art of Photography, and thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Later.